What is CYP2D6? CYP2D6 is responsible for the metabolism of many drugs and environmental chemicals that it oxidizes. CYP2D6 substrates are drugs that are known to be affected by inhibitors or inducers. A substrate is a molecule upon which an enzyme acts. The following drugs are substrates of CYP2D6. The sensitive substrates are ariprazole, also known as Abilify, atomoxetine, also known as Strattera, desipramine, also known as norpramine, dextromethorphan, also known as Robitussin DM, iloperidone, also known as Fanapt, metoprolol, also known as Toprol, nebivolol, also known as Bistolic, perfenazine, propafenone, also known as Rithmol, risperidone, also known as Risperidol, tolterodine, also known as Detrol, venlafaxine, also known as Effexor, vortioxetine, also known as Brentellix, thiorididine, also known as Melaril, Sonapax, and Thioril. Other CYP2D6 substrates are alpranolol, alphaprol, alpranololam, also known as Gubernol, Reglan, Yobir, Aplobal, Aptine, Aptol, and Duralis. Amitriptyline, also known as Elavil, amphetamine, arformoterol, also known as Brobana, bufurolol, carvedilol, also known as Coreg, chlorpheniramine, also known as chlortrimeton, chlorpromazine, also known as thorazine, cyclesinide, also known as Alvesco and Amneris, clomipramine, also known as anafranil, clonidine, also known as Catapres, clozapine, also known as Clozaril, codeine or 3-methylmorphine, debrisoquin, dextromethorphan, found in over-the-counter cold medications, donepezil, also known as Aricept, doxazocin, also known as Cardura and Cardura XL, doxepin, Duloxetine, also known as Cymbalta, encainide, also known as Encade, flecainide, also known as Tambocor, fluoxetine, also known as Prozac, fluphenazine, fluvoxamine, also known as Luvox, formoterol, also known as Foradil, haloperidol, also known as Haldol, hydrocodone, imipramine, also known as Trophanil, ivermectin, also known as Stromectol, levomepromazine, also known as methotrimeprazine, lidocaine, xylocaine, or lignocaine. Miancerin, also known as Depnon, Lantanon, Larivon, Lumen, Norval, Tolvan, Tolmin, metoclopramide, also known as Reglan, Maxillatine, mirtazapine, also known as Remeron, Minoprine, also known as Brantor and Cantor, nortriptyline, also known as Pamelor, olanzapine, also known as Zyprexa, a minor substrate, ondansetron, also known as Zofran, oxycodone, also known as OxyContin, paliperidone, also known as Invega, a minor substrate, paroxetine, also known as Paxil, perhexylene, phenacetin, fenformin, promethazine, also known as Phenergan, propranolol, also known as Inderol, rimoxapride, also known as Roxium, Spartine, tamoxifen, tamsulosin, also known as Flomax, timolol maleate, tiotropium, also known as Spiriva, a minor substrate, tramadol, also known as Altram, trimipramine, also known as Sermontil, tropisitron, umeclidinium, also known as Onoroellipta, zuclopenfixol, also known as Cisordinol, clopixol, and Acutaze, also known as zuclopentixol. An inhibitor is a substance that slows down or prevents a particular chemical reaction or other process, or that reduces the activity of a particular reactant, catalyst, or enzyme. The following are inhibitors of CYP2D6. CYP2D6 strong inhibitors are bupropion, also known as Welbutrin, fluoxetine, also known as Prozac, metoclopramide, also known as Reglan, paroxetine, also known as Paxil, quinidine. CYP2D6 moderate inhibitors are Senocalcet, also known as Sensipar, Dronetorone, also known as Maltac, Duloxetine, also known as Cymbalta, mirabegron, also known as mirbetriq, terbinafine, also known as Lamisil. CYP2D6 weak inhibitors are amiodarone, also known as cortisone, acinapine, also known as Saffris, buprenorphine, celecoxib, also known as Celebrex, cimetidine, also known as Tagamet. Clemistine, also known as Meclastin. Desipramine, also known as Norpirmin. Desvenlafaxine, also known as Pristiq. Diltiazem, also known as Cardizem. Diphenhydramine, also known as Benadryl. Echinacea. Escitalopram, also known as Lexapro. Febuxostat, also known as Uloric. Gefitinib, also known as Iressa. Hydralazine, also known as Apresyline. Hydroxychloroquine, also known as Plaquenil. Imatinib, also known as Gleevec. Imipramine, also known as Trophanil. Methadone. Nortriptyline, also known as Pamelor. Oral contraceptive pills. Propafenone, also known as Rithmol. Ranitidine, also known as Zantac. Ritonavir, also known as Norvir. Sertraline, also known as Zoloft. Telithromycin, also known as Ketec. Venlafaxine, also known as Effexor. Verapamil, also known as Kalen, Isoptin, etc. CYP2D6 unspecified inhibitors are bicalutamide, also known as Casodex, Casodex, Calotide, Calamid. Chlorpheniramine, also known as chlortrimeton. Chlorpromazine, also known as thorazine. Citalopram, also known as Celexa. Chlorphenamine or chlorpheniramine. Clomipramine, also known as anafranil and clofranil. Cobecistat, part of the Stribild. Cocaine. Diphenhydramine. Doxepin. Doxorubicin, also known as adriamycin, Doxil, and Myoset. Flufenazine. Fluvoxamine, also known as Luvox. Halofantrine, also known as Halfan. Haloperidol, also known as Haldol. Hydroxychloroquine, also known as Plaquenil. Hydroxyzine, also known as Vistaril, and Atarax. Hyperforin, also known as St. John's wort. Levomepromazine, also known as methotrimeprazine. Nocinan, Nozenan, and Levoprom. Lorcaserin, also known as Belvic. Methadone. also known as Cimarron, Dolafine, Amidone, Methadose, Fiseptone, Heptadone, Mibefredil, also known as Posecor, Midodrine, also known as Amatine, Proamatine, and Gutron, Metoclopramide, also known as Amira, Aurorix, Clobamix, Depnil, and Manarix. Niacin, also known as Niaspan and slow niacin. Perfenazine, Promethazine, also known as Phenergan, Promethagan, Romergan, Fargan, Farganese, Prothiazine, Avamine, Atosil, Receptozine, Lurgagan, and Sominex. Risperidone, also known as Risperdal. Sertraline, also known as Zoloft. Thioridazine, also known as Melaril. Ticlopidine, also known as Ticlid. Tripolenamine, also known as Peribenzamine. Vilazodone, also known as Vibrid. Zuclopenthixol, also known as Cisardinol, Clopixol, and Acutaze. An inducer is a molecule that starts gene expression. The following are CYP2D6 inducers: Dexamethasone, rifampicin, glutathiamide, which is a strong inducer. Remember, if you have any concerns, please contact your practitioner